Hello everyone, we have reached the end of yet another year with 2023. We're on our way to 2024, and before the end of the year, I want to share my top 10 favorite films of the year. Now, this will not be the best films of the year, but just my personal top 10 favorite, ones that I have enjoyed the most. Before I continue, feel free to comment down below your favorite films of 2023. Let's all be kind and respectful to one another. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe for more content. 2023 was an interesting year where I didn't feel like there was that many great movies like previous years, but in other times there were some surprise hits of the year, some movies that reminded me what filmmaking is all about. This list was very difficult for me to narrow it down to just 10 favorites, and in honorable mentions, I would have to mention Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Blue Beetle, Barbie, Champions, Totally Killer, Extraction 2, A Man Called Otto, No One Will Save You, and Megan. Now, I have not seen Equalizer 3 or Poor Things yet, so those would probably be in the list if I saw them. Starting off at number 10 is Creed 3. I absolutely love this film. I wasn't sure what to think about a Creed film without Rocky, but this works. Adonis Creed finally has a spotlight in his own series, and Michael B. Jordan does a wonderful job directing the villain. He's almost like the anti-Rocky, and I love seeing Creed deal with retirement, age, and his past coming back to haunt him. This is a wonderfully directed film from Michael B. Jordan, and he brings some anime influences into the world of boxing and Rocky. And number 9 is Scream 6, another film without a franchise favorite. I wasn't sure what to think about a Scream without Neve Campbell, but this film surprised me, and it added some stakes back into the franchise. A bit derivative of Scream 2, but just as entertaining. It's in New York City. Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega are fantastic in this. You have Dermot Mulroney. It's great seeing the return of Kirby and seeing a legacy film, a film talking about reboots and legacy sequels. I like what they do here, and it's gorier and more brutal than ever before. I personally thought this was a huge step up from the 5th Scream film, and I like that they're able to take some risks here and bring some freshness to the franchise. By not having Sydney, you actually added stakes back into it, because you're either going to A, kill them off unceremoniously, or B, they're not going to die, which is great. I don't want them to die, but it's just like, character-wise, there's not that much risk. This is the most dread I've felt since the 2nd and 3rd films of the franchise. And it's a shame what Spyglass did, but I have to say, this is not a bad ending for the Carpenter sisters or the Scream series in many ways. It concludes a second trilogy with Scream 4, Scream 5, and Scream 6, a trilogy of remakes, reboots, and legacy. After that, at number 8 for me is Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire. I love part 1 of this Rebel Moon, and while it is a PG-13 version for general audiences, I like the story. It's a mixture of Dune, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars. Sophia Boutella is great as Cora. I love seeing this original world. There's so much world building in this that I think the extended cut is going to even be more crazy than this one, and perhaps even better. And who knows, we might see more of these characters' backstories in part 2. It definitely leaves it open for a part 2, and it makes you want to see it. I want to see where this goes. I love Star Wars. I love Zack Snyder films. When you infuse that, you get something cool like Rebel Moon. And overall, it was an entertaining sci-fi film with beautiful visuals and some twists and turns along the way. After that, at number 7 is The Creator. Probably one of my favorite sci-fi films of the year. I love Gareth Edwards' work. Even on Godzilla, I didn't like that film too much, but I loved his direction. 2014, Rogue One is probably my favorite Disney-era Star Wars, so to see The Creator was just great. A little bit like Terminator and Avatar had a baby, actually. John David Washington and Madeline Yuna Voiles are terrific in this film. They give phenomenal performances. The visuals are amazing. $80 million. This year showed us films that were made on a much lower budget. It shows you what you can do and how bad something may look if it's all for commercial for over $300 million with Indiana Jones and Flash, or you can get something creative like Creator or Godzilla -1. I like this standalone sci-fi film that is about AI, artificial intelligence, and what it means to be human. An entertaining film with an emotional conclusion. After that, at number 6 is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is probably the most surprising film of the year. Way better than the 2000 Dungeons & Dragons film. Chris Pine is excellent in this. Michelle Rodriguez. You have Hugh Grant in a villain role. Yeah, he's had a lot of fun this year between Wonka and this. I absolutely enjoyed this movie from start to finish. It was like somebody's own original D&D campaign presented on the screen, while bringing that fantasy adventure feel to the film with a little bit of humor. It has a heartfelt story, many cool characters. Overall, it's just a feel-good adventure movie. It made me feel like I was a kid again watching older fantasy films. Dungeons & Dragons is a must-see if you have never seen it. Seriously, it's a surprise that the whole family can enjoy. After that, at number 5 for me is Air. a wonderfully directed film from Ben Affleck. He acts in it. You also have Jason Bateman and Matt Damon. Any movie with Matt Damon is great. Viola Davis. I love seeing the story behind the Air Jordans. I used to own like the Air Jordans, not the original ones, but like the one from 98, 99. And it was so cool seeing this behind the scenes story of Nike and how they came up with the Air Jordans with Michael Jordan. It's such like a cool era from like when I was growing up to see like the behind the scenes of Nike. And yeah, this is one of my favorite films of the year. Who knew a film about making a shoe could be this entertaining and this great? But when you have a wonderfully written story with some great actors, this is what you get. And I cannot wait to see what Ben Affleck does next. This is just one of the most entertaining films and surprises of the year. After that, at number 4 is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. This film deserved to do better at the box office. I love this film. Was it as good as Fallout? No. In many ways, it felt like the 7th installment of James Bond, Live and Let Die, where stuff started to become more comedic. But it's also very dark at the same time. Takes some bold swings with the franchise, some questionable decisions that I cannot wait to see what happens in Part 2 and how it will play out. But overall, it makes me even more paranoid over AI with the Entity. I love seeing Tom Cruise fight off AI. Ethan Hunt in this is at a breaking point in a way, even more than usual, where like he has to basically go on his own against the whole world. You know, he has to break allegiances, which what else is new in this franchise? But I love seeing Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson is great. I really wish we could get more of Ilsa Faust in this franchise, but Haley Atwell is a scene stealer here as Grace. She makes this film, and then you have Zai Morales as Gabriel. Overall, very exciting film that continues the story and threads of the previous films while also providing part 1 of a what could be a 2-part conclusion. I cannot wait to see what happens with part 2. I waited a long time for MI7, and it's amazing that it came out this good, having the film during the pandemic. The action set pieces are just awesome, and Lauren Balfe returns with a wonderful, wonderful score. Overall, this is just one of my favorite films, and you know, there's some that are better than others, but Mission Impossible is one of those rare franchises where I love all the films, including this one. After that, at number 3 is Oppenheimer. Yes, I kind of missed out on the Barbenheimer craze in the summer. I didn't go see Barbie and Oppenheimer, actually. I rented them on digital. And Oppenheimer is still a fantastic film. Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite filmmakers, even before Dark Knight trilogy with Memento and Insomnia. And seeing him go from like those films to Interstellar, to Dunkirk, to Tenet, to then this, it's just nothing short of amazing. I hope he gets his Best Director nomination and win. Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and Emily Blunt, I think, need to as well. This has a wonderful stat cast. You have Josh Hartnett, you have Florence Pugh, you have Rami Malek. So many actors are in this film. Seriously, Matt Damon. I love seeing the story with 2 perspectives on the man of Oppenheimer and the creation of the atomic bomb in the Manhattan Project, but also the ramifications of that on not only the individual, but the country and the world. The ending just left me just amazed. I was just like, whoa. Fuck. You know, that's how it felt with the ending, and looking at our current times and looking at war and nuclear warfare and seeing how we are with weapons around the world. It's a very ambitious film from Christopher Nolan. Definitely has a lot more nudity, which is not bad. People need to grow up. But it's definitely more adult than his previous films, and I love it for that. And the cinematography is beautiful. It's one of those films where I feel like this is like Spielberg. He did a lot of great blockbusters, great films, and then he did Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. This feels like a level up for Christopher Nolan, and I'm glad that Universal let him do this film. We need more films like this, you know. It may not be for everyone, but it's a great historical biopic. After that is Godzilla -1. I had the pleasure of seeing this in cinemas, and this is like the best Godzilla film ever made. As a matter of fact, it's funny because like Barbie and Oppenheimer were a double feature. I actually feel like you could watch Oppenheimer and then Godzilla -1. That'd be like a really good double feature. Godzilla -1 is the first time I've been scared of Godzilla. Like, he scared me. But this film is a great war period piece film, even without the monster. And then you add Godzilla there, and this ain't like the old Godzillas that are kind of cheesy or a man in a suit. No, this is like legit. It has compelling human characters that we care about more than the American versions. This is Godzilla done right, that goes back to its Gojira roots in 1954. I absolutely love this. I got out of the theater and I'm like, that is cinema. That is how I felt with Godzilla -1. Overall, if you're a Godzilla fan, you're going to love it. But if you're not a Godzilla fan, I think you're going to love it as well. This is just one of the best films of the year. But for me, at my number 1, one film that edges it out just a little bit because of the last hour, John Wick Chapter 4 is my favorite film of the year. I haven't seen a film come close to this. And I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. This had some of the best action I have seen. This is like more action than John Wick 1, 2, and Parabellum combined. I don't know how they did it. This movie made me exhausted watching it, but it went by so fast for the running time. Lance Reddick is in it, late great Lance Reddick. John Wick. Keanu Reeves is back with a vengeance in this. And there's some parallels to even Cowboy Bebop and The Matrix Revolutions, surprisingly. Bill Skarsgård as the villain here. He plays such a jerk. You just hate him, but he's that good. But the standout here is Donnie Yen as Kane. A similar role to Rogue One, but just as badass, as well as Shamir Anderson as Tracker. Tracker and Kane are some of the two best characters that basically make up the good, the bad, and the ugly of the John Wick franchise. And this film has so much entertainment, so much emotion. The conclusion is probably the best way this can go out. You could try to make a sequel in some far-fetched manner. I don't want there to be a sequel. I just don't. This is a perfect ending for John Wick. Let it rest. Let Keanu rest. Seriously, this is cinema at its finest, and John Wick has been one of the best action franchises in a long time. It's very rare to have this many films be this consistently good, and they did it, and it's probably my favorite of the year personally. I know you're going to have a lot of pretentious film fanatics out there get at me, but I don't care. John Wick 4 is just the most entertaining, and it's the most I've got out, the most emotional investment I got out of a movie, and just how I felt after getting out. Like, that was like seeing a summer blockbuster in March, and yeah. No other film has gave me the feeling that John Wick 4 has given me, and it's just my favorite of the year. Anyway, that was a quick rundown of my top 10 favorite films of 2023. Again, down in the comments below, let me know your favorite films of the year. And in the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more content. Feel free to subscribe, and I hope everyone out there has a happy new year. Till next time, everyone.